health. He suffered a concussion and broken ribs after falling at a Washington hotel in March. McConnell led the Senate GOP for the past.
Just ahead, a brand new attraction opens at the Minnesota Zoo today, and it is taking zoo guests to new heights. Plus, we are taking you inside the Olmsted County Government Center for a look at new courthouse renovations. And a popular Rochester coffee shop announces it is closing up all of its locations. Your News at Noon starts now.
Live from your local news leader, this is KTTC News.
Good afternoon, I'm Jess Abrahamson. First today at noon, this is a first alert day. Our weather team is keeping a close eye on our North Iowa counties as communities south of I-90 are at an elevated risk for severe weather. Meteorologist Ted Schmidt is tracking all of this and joins us with more out on a bright weather patio. Hi, Ted.
Hi, Jess. Yeah, very warm day. It's been quiet so far. We did have some thunderstorms last night, but that was a completely different complex of activity, a different front altogether. That has moved through. Today, not quite as steamy in the wake of that front, but what we're facing is a round of storms that will ignite toward the evening hours again, with maybe some hail and some strong wind gusts again impacting the area. Especially along and south of Interstate 90, but the rest of the area not completely exempt from severe weather risks. There may be a couple of strong storms impacting the bulk of the area. Here's the current scene from our Lewiston Auto camera in Rochester. It's 81 right now. It does feel like it's 84. The wind's very light for the south at 7 miles per hour. Air pressure is actually rising this hour. It's 81 at the airport in Rochester. Mason City 86. 77. The clouds have been hanging on in Winona a little bit longer. Heated to seas mid 80s to 90s. Mason City down 93, and it feels like 89 in Cresco. North Iowa is in a heat advisory as things are a little extra steamy there. Thunderstorms in Wisconsin and northwestern parts of Minnesota. For us, quiet now. We'll see that change, though, by 6, 7, 8 o'clock this evening. There's that heat advisory for North Iowa. It runs until 9 o'clock this evening. And looking at the rest of today, we're facing a first alert day because of the threat of severe weather, primarily large hail and damaging wind gusts. That's going to happen mainly after 6 or 7 o'clock. Level 3 risk from North Iowa for the Storm Prediction Center. Southern Minnesota level 2, so still an elevated risk for even the Rochester area. So we're all looking at kind of the prospect of something a bit stormier in that evening time frame, all the way until about 11, maybe midnight tonight. Right now, allergy levels very high for dust. Everything else moderate or less, and the UV index level 8 in that scale of 1 to 10. 80 is the typical high this time of the year. We may see that tomorrow or Sunday. We're not going to be there today. It's certainly warmer than that already. Looking for mid-80s later on. 8:38 is the sunset. Look for some showers, some thunderstorms after about 6 or 7 o'clock into the evening hours. Severe weather risk is there for just the evening up through just past sunset, and look for high temperatures around 86. It's going to feel like the low 90s. So just another steamy day, another unsettled day. We'll have more on the 7-day outlook in a few minutes.
It sure is. Thank you, Ted. It is another hot day for people heading out to the Olmsted County Fair. Some fairgoers might be waiting until the weekend for more comfortable weather to check out the attractions. We wanted to see if vendors are feeling the impact of a hot week. Our Darian Letty is at the fairgrounds to give us more of a sense of how this week is going for vendors. Hi, Darian.
Jess, although it's another hot one today, it's still pretty busy here at the Olmsted County Fair. Let's come and take a look at the food vendor area. We've got a lot of people here coming in to enjoy some lunch. I talked to one vendor and they said that this is actually the busiest that they've seen it all week. So they are hopeful for a busy weekend we have ahead of us at the fair. But the past 2 days, a little bit different. It was pretty slow, especially yesterday with that heat. I spoke to one vendor who said that there was not a lot of people here yesterday, and that it wasn't that busy. And they also had a booth down at Thursdays Downtown. That wasn't busy either. You heard yesterday that the Family Fun Day was canceled, but the fair was still open. However, some people got confused and they thought that the fair was closed. However, the food vendors were still open, and they definitely felt the impacts of that heat yesterday. Definitely. But they're hopeful for a busy weekend. We've got a lot of different food options here. Just to say, it looks like we got some fresh squeezed lemonade that would be definitely something that would taste good on a hot day like this. Look like we got some French fry lovers over here.
Can you say hi, Lorelai? Say hi. Oh.
That's okay. I get like that sometimes too.
We're having ketchup.
Oh yeah, ketchup is great too. I love that. And yes, we've got dozens and dozens of vendors here. It's a lot of small local businesses too. So you can actually come out here and you can support local businesses. Like I said, a lot of options here. So I am probably gonna grab some corn myself. That sounds like a pretty good option to me. We're gonna keep talking to vendors and checking things out, and we'll send it back to you, Jess, at the station.
Yeah, it was such a sweet girl there protecting your ketchup. And I think you deserve one of those cold lemonades too. Thank you so much, Darian.
Thanks, Jess.
Today, Governor Tim Walz is in Iowa. This morning, he took part in a news conference with Democratic Party leaders in that state.
Biden and Vice President Harris delivered infrastructure decade. We have more infrastructure projects moving in Minnesota to connect our families, to connect our businesses. We are broadening broadband to the tune of $658 million that will connect every business and every child. Those are the things that we're working on. Why they're going to go over there and debate tonight what books to ban, we're banning hunger in our schools with the help of the Biden-Harris administration. We're building out for the future. These are the things that make a difference.
And that was Minnesota Governor's message as he talked about what's happening tonight in Iowa. Iowa Republicans will hold their annual Lincoln Dinner fundraiser. That's happening in Des Moines with former President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in attendance there. Controversy within the Minnesota Gopher football program. An article released by Front Office Sports claims a toxic culture with some troubling accusations in that. The article cites several former players and staff members, all remaining anonymous, alleging something called the Fleck Bank kept track of players' community service and other good deeds. If a player had enough coins, they would be excused from positive drug tests and other team violations. Another allegation of toxic culture claims to be the answer to coaching staff asking the question, "How are you?" The only correct answer would be, "I'm elite," even if they might be struggling with mental health issues. Head coach PJ Fleck defended his programs against these allegations.
These allegations are baseless. We have full support of our athletic director, Mark Coyle. The Fleck Bank, mostly used in 2017 and 18, was an analogy in a team meeting. There was no currency ever exchanged. There was no coins that ever existed. It was an analogy simply to explain investment for life, a life lesson of investment. Simply that.
Fleck has a 44-27 record at Minnesota since taking the reins in 2017. We have an update on the Lily Peters case in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. She was the 10-year-old girl reported missing last April. Her body was discovered the next morning in the woods close to her home. A Chippewa County judge has ruled about what evidence will be allowed in an upcoming hearing for a teen charged in her death. Next month, a reverse waiver hearing will be held for the now 15-year-old boy to determine whether his case is going to be moved into juvenile court. The judge approved a motion to seal autopsy photos and video related to the investigation. That hearing is set for the week of August 7th. Today, we are getting a peek at new renovations at the Olmsted County Government Center up on the 5th floor. This morning, our KTTC crew was allowed onto the 5th floor to check out the renovations on the east side of the building. Those include a new jury assembly room, a jury deliberation room, and a courtroom that can be used for felony cases. Previously, jury-related activities took place right in the courtroom. Officials say dedicated rooms are just more suitable. The court administration also once worked out of the 5th floor. That moved to the 4th floor last year. And these 5th floor renovations actually got underway last October.
With population growing, we were seeing an increase in court filings and projected increase in court filings. And so that really started the project to look at the government center as a justice tower. And we knew that adding a felony-sized courtroom was important to be able to serve the county and the district.
This project is part of the county's long-term strategy to update certain county government facilities. No one was hurt in a garage fire in Albert Lea. Firefighters were called to a property on Ermina Avenue North just before 3:30 Thursday afternoon, a detached garage was engulfed in flames. The owner of the property was standing outside. Crews were able to put it out quickly and then stayed on the scene to put out any hot spots. The cause is under investigation. Damage there is estimated at $5,000. The recycling center in Moore County has a unique operating system, one that requires meticulous, hands-on work. It's called a source-separated system versus using a single sort system, a process the majority of centers in the area use. Moore County recycling leaders say their method of recycling prevents contamination. This is a task that requires a team effort, one that's been in place since 1989 when this facility opened. The recycling center partners with Cedar Valley Services, a local disability service provider whose individuals work right at the center. County leaders say it not only provides both a sense of agency and belonging to the workers there, but also an essential service for the community.
Just like any of us here to earn a living and have to come to work every day and see their co-workers and friends and the general public. And when it's especially important when you're doing important things like recycling, because it's very important to our future here.
The recycling center is also expanding its services. The county recently approved a bid to build a space to recycle electronics. And here's a mock-up of what that addition will look like. It's not open up, but construction is expected to start in the fall. Well, we do have some sad news for coffee lovers in Rochester. Fiddlehead Coffee Company is closing its doors. It posted on Facebook it will shut down its Rochester and Bloomington locations this weekend. The post cited the owner's medical challenges along with financial struggles as reasons for a difficult decision to close after 6 years in operation. Fiddlehead is hosting 2 going away parties in the Med City. So one is underway at the Kaler location right now. That's going to last until 3 this afternoon. And then at the location near Miracle Mile, that one's on Sunday from 7 until 2. Visitors are now able to reach some new heights at the Minnesota Zoo, and this is thanks to a new feature that officially opened up this morning. It's the grand opening day for the new Treetop Trail. This is the longest elevated pedestrian trail in the world, and it's open year-round. The 1.25 mile loop will bring guests 32 feet above the ground for a bird's-eye view of the hundreds of acres of nature and diverse wildlife that call this zoo home. Planning for the project started in June of 2018. A ribbon-cutting ceremony was held this morning ahead of what should be a busy weekend at the zoo with beautiful weather in the forecast. An alert from the Minnesota Department of Health after 5 cases of salmonella in the Twin Cities involving kids. This has been linked to drinking unpasteurized milk. And just days before recreational cannabis is expected to become legal in Minnesota, a last-minute effort to try to stop it in St. Paul. More on that just ahead.
It's the final days of the annual 10th.
A new law in Iowa allows for the sale of raw milk, but just north of the border, the Minnesota Health Department is investigating cases of salmonella linked to drinking unpasteurized milk. The Minnesota Department of Health is investigating a cluster of salmonella cases. They involve children in the Twin Cities metro area. 2 families say the kids had unpasteurized milk. The Department of Health says it came from the same source. The kids who got sick were between the ages of 3 months and 10 years old. They got sick about a month ago, and 1 child was hospitalized. According to the Department of Health, most people who get salmonella are sick for 4 to 7 days, although young children, seniors, and people with weakened immune systems are at highest risk for severe illness or hospitalization. Just days from the official legalization of cannabis in Minnesota, state Republicans are making a last-ditch effort to put a pause on that law. House Republicans issued a letter to state leaders this morning requesting a special session ahead of August 1st, with legalization set to take place Tuesday. The minority party listed several concerns with the bill in its letter. Among those concerns, calls for local control over whether the substance is sold and stricter penalties for those under the age of 21. Republicans also took issue with the fact that the drug will be legal before licenses have even been distributed for legal sale. 20 House Republicans signed that letter. The DFL has responded by pointing out what it calls inaccuracies in the Republican letter. So we're going to have more on all of this tonight at 5 and 6 on KTTC. It is another hot day out there, and Ted is watching the potential for some storms later today for parts of our viewing area.
Jess, yes, it's a very warm day. We're talking about heat index levels again reaching the 90s, maybe even 100 in a few spots. Then thunderstorms will feed on that rich, humid air. The latest in that severe weather risk today, and look at the full weekend forecast right after the break, after we look at our midday market report.
Missed part of our newscast? KTTC has you covered.
Here's your first alert weather with meteorologist Ted Schmidt.
Good to see some peaceful sunshine after some raucous thunderstorms last night and very early this morning. No severe weather in that, but at least we got some beneficial rainfall. And I'm looking at some blue sky with our Lewis Dodauto camera in the wake of the morning clouds. Now we're looking at a bright and warm day. 81 in Rochester, officially at the airport, 90 in Waterloo. A lot of heat building, especially in North Iowa. There is a cold front. You see where that boundary is right now. Ahead of it, 80s. We're certainly in the 80s, but behind that front we have 60s and 70s in the plains and far northwest Minnesota, and that is something that's headed our way. That front's going to spark more thunderstorms later today, and with that, severe weather risk is again a concern. 81 in Rochester, it's 86 in Austin, Mason City 86 and 83 in Cresco, on our way to about 86, 87. Some spots who were already in the mid-80s will likely touch 90 later today. Dew point 71, not at least 77 where we were yesterday, but still really humid out there. It does feel like 85 because of that, and the air pressure is rising 29, 95 of the barometer. Heat indices mid 80s in Rochester and North Iowa, already seeing some mid and upper 90s on the map. That's how it feels when you factor in the mugginess. Mason City 93 and 91, the way it feels in Decorah. We have heat advisory for North Iowa. Look at the heat numbers. We're looking at up to 105 in Charles City, 100 to 105 in Mason City. North of the border on the Minnesota side, maybe just shy of 100. We're talking about 90s. That feels like temperature today. Skies are clear right now. We had 0.07 of an inch of rain with those early morning thunderstorms in Rochester. Here in the north end of town, it was 0.2 of an inch, so it was a downpour, but very brief. Right now, we're looking at that heat advisory for North Iowa. It goes until 9 o'clock this afternoon. There are some storms that will ignite along an approaching front, and that's going to spread activity southward and eventually look at the possibility of some severe weather. And because of that, we have a first alert day talking about severe weather risk. Level 3 out of 5 for the Storm Prediction Center for North Iowa. Rochester level 2. So we're facing severe storms, damaging winds, and some large hail. All of that mostly along the south of Interstate 90. As it stands right now, that'll be the best chance of most likely scenario after 6 o'clock until about 11 o'clock this evening. So we're looking at those two elements, hail, damaging wind gusts, 6 until 11 o'clock this evening. Future track computer modeling, a quiet afternoon until we see those thunderstorms begin to erupt. First of them around 6 or 7 o'clock. Again, a lot of those will be focused in North Iowa, but a few in southern Minnesota can't be completely ruled out as that boundary will be draped across the region. Thunderstorms rumble out of the picture by 11 or 12 o'clock. Then we'll have a quiet stretch of weather tomorrow and the days that follow. A nice north breeze that draws in dry, less humid air, and temperatures a little more seasonable, not the steamy stuff we've had in recent days. Storm chances really ramp up for a few hours and then move out pretty quickly. So 6 to 11, the time frame of the best opportunity for those storms to happen. I look for less humidity in the air for tomorrow and Sunday. Next week, mainly dry and seasonable. Not a whole lot of rain next week. A very small chance Wednesday night or Thursday morning of next week. Otherwise, temperatures at least a little more palatable than they've been in recent days. Low 80s and at least near 80-degree warm weather this weekend. And the days that follow looking very summer-like, but not extreme. Look for partly sunny skies today, humid day. Thunderstorms this evening, 86, but feeling like the low 90s today. 64, evening strong storms, certainly a possibility in a few spots. It looks like we'll have damaging winds and some hail and some of the strongest storms. Partly sunny tomorrow, north breeze, 81. Not all that humid, though, and even less humidity in the air on Sunday. Next week, looking actually pretty decent. If you were to take a vacation and stay here, you would have some fantastic summer weather for the most part. After tonight's thunderstorms, that is, fairly quiet picture.
Yeah, the weekend's going to be refreshing. Maybe go camping or something fun.
The great outdoor weather, yeah.
Thank you, Ted. Ticks are a big concern in our area during the summer months. Now, new research shows a connection between ticks and static electricity. We're going to break that down coming up next in our Moment of Science.
KTTC.
The same force that zaps us in the winter may be how a summer parasite gets around. Dan Smith is highlighting new research between ticks and static electricity in this Moment of Science.
Ticks are annoying. They can latch onto a host, suck up blood, and leave Lyme disease behind. But how do they get on their host in the first place? Researchers at the University of Bristol have a new take. The project wasn't born out of a eureka moment, but out of friendship. Sam England deals with electrostatic. His friend and study co-author Katie is a veterinary parasitologist.
It was kind of just a bit of a, well, you work on ticks, I work on this static electricity. How can we combine the two things together?
A tick's main mission is to successfully latch onto a host and feed. Direct contact is common, but the team set out to find if near misses also applied here. The team used a bunch of charged materials like nylon and plastic for a baseline, then moved on to rabbit fur.
We charged up these rabbit feet and kind of brought them into the proximity to ticks. And you can see them bridging this gap of, normally many millimeters, but sometimes several centimeters, which is pretty crazy to see.
The fur was great for demonstration, but electrodes were needed to more formally show this phenomenon.
It was much better to use electrodes where we're applying voltages to them, because it means that we can have a really precise distance and a really precise charge on the electrode, which isn't just easily possible with the rabbit fur.
To us, several millimeters is not much, but scaling it up, that's an impressive gap to clear.
When you consider that the ticks themselves are only about a millimeter wide, if you were to kind of scale it up to the scale of a human, it's the equivalent of us, jumping up several flights of stairs in one go.
They'd like to test smaller gaps, but
if you did it with a smaller gap, the tick could bridge the distance between the electrode and the ground plate, and they would basically complete the circuit, and they would be electrocuted.
Ticks are not actually capable of jumping, so every fraction of a millimeter counts when trying to reach that host. These findings may help develop new defenses against ticks, lice, fleas, mites, and others.
Anti-static sprays, you can imagine applying these to your outdoor clothing if you know that you're going to a particularly tick-infested area. I always like to imagine this kind of like this car wash system of, sending sheep through and coating them in anti-static spray or something like that.
Lots of outdoor adventure wear sacrifices being waterproof for building up charge.
It's possible if you're wearing these kinds of materials that you're essentially, as you walk through, say, like long grass, you may be kind of vacuuming up a lot more ticks onto you than you otherwise would.
Another fun discovery, most animals build up a charge walking through different things like grass or sand, much like we do rubbing a balloon against our head. Ticks are apparently equally attracted to both positive and negative charges.
The electric field of their host is moving or reorienting the charges within the tick. So whilst the tick overall still has a net charge of 0, the negative charges get slightly pulled closer to the cow, and the positive charges get slightly repelled away from the cow.
A big leap forward in understanding the science behind the smallest of pests. For this week's Moment of Science, I'm Dan Smith.
Not a tick video in that story. Well, here's Howard with a look at what he's up to in the kitchen.
When I say the cookies we're making today are one of my all-time favorites, you know they gotta be good.
Get on the road, on the water, or off the beaten.
We get the taste test recipes every day here in the Test Kitchen that we use in the news, on our website, and in our cookbooks. And as you can imagine, this means we've tasted lots of cookies over the years. So when I say the cookies we're making today are one of my all-time favorites, you know they gotta be good. For these chocolatey delights, we start by creaming some butter and sugar together until it's nice and light. Once it is, we beat in a couple of eggs. Then we slowly add in our dry ingredients. Some flour, cocoa powder, baking powder, and a little salt. Now, to ensure that each bite is really decadent, we toss in lots of chocolate chips and chopped pecans. We'll spoon the batter onto a couple of cookie sheets and bake them off until the edges are set and the tops are still a bit soft. After they cool on a wire rack, it's time to taste test them for yourself. What you'll find is a cookie that's a bit chewy, really chocolatey, and a little crunchy, all at the same time. They're so good, these might just become your new favorite too. To get the recipe for our double chocolate chewies, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a doubly good way for you to say, ooh, it's so good. You love your cookies.
And with all that chocolate, that could maybe make a melty mess out on the weather patio, Ted.
It would definitely melt quickly. Yeah, it's very warm out here, Jess. At least there's a thin veil of cirrus clouds that is momentarily taken over, filtering the sunlight. So maybe not as much of that direct sunshine here, but still feels very hot nonetheless. I don't know if that is making much of a difference, but maybe less of a necessity for sunglasses here for the next 5 minutes. But right now, here's the current view from our studio as we look across Highway 52. That's live with our Lewis Did Auto camera from Signal Hill. It's 82 here at the studio. It feels like 85. The dew point 71. That is definitely muggy. It's not as intense as it was yesterday. I'm grateful for that. Yesterday, the dew point was just shy of 80, which is inconceivable. Today's still pretty steamy, though, and the wind is very light. We did have a little more of a gust earlier today, but not enough right now to stir the air. 81 right now in Rochester at the airport. 79, a few extra clouds in Winona, keeping temperatures down momentarily. And to the west, extra sunny and extra hot. Mesa City, 86 already. And it's 82 in Owatonna. We have heated the seas in mid-80s in Rochester, 93 the way it feels in Mesa City, and 88 in Owatonna. We are tracking thunderstorms toward northwest. Some activity that was here earlier today has moved on to the east. We're in between, waiting for maybe some evening storms. But first, from now until 9 o'clock, we're looking at a heat advisory for North Iowa, as heat index levels will be around 100. First alert, Dave, because of this time it's severe weather concerns, not actually just the heat. We're talking about after 6 o'clock, maybe 7, storms will ignite, impacting the area, especially North Iowa, but southern Minnesota not exempt. We're still level 2 out of 5 in the Storm Prediction Center outlook. So damaging winds and some potentially, possibly very big hail for a few hours until about 11 o'clock. So 6 to 11, the time of concern right now along and south of Interstate 90. So anywhere from Rochester to North Iowa, the greatest risk. And again, hail and wind gusts. Can't completely rule out a tornado, but I think that's a pretty low risk right now of that particular element in weather. 86, the high temperature is going to feel like the low and mid 90s. Again, North Iowa a little hotter than that with some thunderstorms after 6. Ted's Trivia, where were fortune cookies invented? They haven't been around forever. Somebody actually invented these things. They didn't just invent themselves. We'll have that answer coming up in just a few minutes, Jess.
All right, they are good, and they're fun, especially when you get a good fortune.
They are fun, yes.
Thank you, Ted. We have all heard about the horrors of human trafficking. There are some things you can do to help stop it in our area. More on that just ahead.
In the Backyard, sponsored by Customer.
Human trafficking is on the rise, and leaders in Iowa are raising awareness to try to stop this from happening. The most recent data from the Department of Justice shows 86 cases were reported in the state of Iowa last year. Connor Hendrick shows us how to recognize the signs and how we all can help.
Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate and Story County Deputy Elizabeth Quinn are raising awareness of human trafficking, which is the use of coercion, force, or fraud to make someone do some sort of labor, including sex work.
It's not easy to profile, but it is something that if we get you to step up, we think we can do something about it.
While sometimes hard to see, Quinn says there are some signs to watch out for.
What we encourage Iowans to look for is just a change in behavior in their appearance. Have they become more isolated? Are they not showing up for work? Or have they missed a lot of school? And we're asking that Iowans make sure that they are just cognizant of things that just seem out of character.
Pate says it doesn't matter whether you live in a rural area or a city to be affected. With the internet, nowhere is off limits.
Sadly, it's an equal opportunity crime. They'll go anywhere, wherever they need to be. But predominantly trafficking is going where the money is. So if there's a big sporting event or a big event where there's a lot of cash flowing, you're going to see it.
Pate's office launched the Iowa Businesses Against Trafficking, or IBAT, in 2022 to help businesses teach employees how to recognize the signs. He's now asking Iowans to do the same.
Just being aware of what's going on around you, and if there's something unusual going on, you want to step in and help out. That's why when we did IBAT, we asked businesses across the state to do just that, to learn something and do something.
According to the Department of Justice, there's no defining characteristics for victims of human trafficking, but those who've experienced poverty, homelessness, and abuse are more vulnerable. In Des Moines, Connor Hendricks, KTTC News.
The Iowa Victim Service Call Center can support survivors of human trafficking. Their phone number is right there on your screen, 800-770-1650. And you can also text Iowa Help to 20121. We have all of this information on our website. We'll be back with Ted's forecast in a moment.
Ag Day Minute brought to you by Jen Bush.
Here's your first alert weather with meteorologist Ted Schmidt.
Perhaps you were awakened by some thunder first thing this morning, or way before first thing this morning. It depends on your point of view. We had some thunder here in Rochester right around 2:30 this morning, and if I wasn't already awake, I would have been awakened by not just the thunder, by dog Ellie was barking at the thunder when she first heard it, and then she became a little agitated, as she oftentimes gets with thunder. She's not a big fan of it, but she's the weather dog, but she's not a big fan of that type of weather. Anyway, some sunshine right now. Skies are clearing off. We're looking at a very warm day. 81 in Rochester. Southward, we've had one front move through. It's draped across North Iowa. You see south of that front. 90s already happening in Des Moines and Waterloo. We're in the 80s for the most part. And then behind another front that's coming in from the northwest, 60s and 70s. That second front's going to spark another round of thunderstorms this evening. Right now, ahead of that, a warm and steamy day. Not as oppressively humid as yesterday. We had dew points approaching 80 yesterday. Today, we're talking low 70s, still pretty muggy, but not quite as bad. 81 in Rochester, it's 83 in Cresco, Mason City right now 86, and 88 already in Charles City. Right now here in the Med City, it feels like 85, dew point 71. Winds are light from the northeast. Heat index mainly 80s and the low 90s in Minnesota, but North Iowa a whole lot hotter. That is why North Iowa is now in a heat advisory until 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, depending on the county, but all happening this evening. Rochester, 90s for that feels like temperature all the way well into the evening. Mason City, Charles City, all about 100 to 105 for the afternoon, all the way until the end of that heat advisory around 8 to 9 o'clock this evening. Future track, we have some quiet skies with a few passing clouds. There's that heat advisory for North Iowa. Again, that happens now until later this evening. And then by that time frame, we start seeing thunderstorms for the northwest with an approaching front. That will spark activity in our area. And then we'll have rain cool there, maybe. And eventually there will be a cool down, but also some severe weather. And because of that, we have a first alert day. Level 2 risk from southern Minnesota for North Iowa. For southern Minnesota, that is from the Storm Prediction Center. North Iowa level 3 risk. And we're talking about after 6 p.m., possibility of severe weather. The two main threats, very large hail and some damaging wind gusts across the area. North Iowa, again, looking at seeing the lion's share of that strong activity. But here's future track today. We have those thunderstorms igniting in a few spots. It becomes a little more widespread for a time between 7 and about 10 o'clock, and the severe risk then moves out around 11 or so. Quieter weather with less humidity in the air overnight tonight into tomorrow. So the storms really ramp up quickly for a few hours and then move out and migrate southward as that front pushes through. For today, some warm sunshine, then less humidity in the air for tomorrow. Temperatures only around 80. Dew points in the 60s. Then Sunday, even cooler, less humid. Next week, pretty quiet and seasonable. In other words, right around 80. That's typical for this time of the year. Rain chances this evening. Then again, perhaps late Wednesday or Thursday of next week. Very small chance there. Temperatures in the days to come, not that bad, really, and not that much humidity. 70s, 80s, and at most mid-80s. That's nothing that we can't handle for even early August. 86, mostly sunny, hot and humid today. East winds around 10 miles per hour. Tonight, 64, there's that chance of strong evening storms from 6 until about 11 o'clock. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, not as humid. Looks like a terrific summer day. 81. A few extra clouds at times, so partly sunny. Even sunnier on Sunday, even less humid. And then 7-day forecast, we have that one rain chance, perhaps on Wednesday or Wednesday night. Otherwise, next week looks really great. Ted's Trivia. Where were fortune cookies invented, Jess?
You know, it doesn't seem like it would be San Francisco. It feels like it would be somewhere more like Shanghai or Hong Kong, but I'm going to go with A.
Actually, it is, yeah. Somebody came up with the idea, a good marketing tool, something a little fun for your dessert at the Chinese restaurant in Chinatown. And I've heard San Francisco's Chinatown is amazing.
Yeah, and Kendall, our noon producer, I know she would have picked that choice as well. So good job, Kendall.
Yeah, good job, Kendall.
Thank you, Ted. Not all summer travel involves a theme park, a beach, or a Minnesota lake resort. Sometimes Airbnb properties are a destination within themselves. We're going to take you to Wisconsin to check out a rental that is truly one of a kind. We'll be right back.
KTTC, celebrating 70.
A Southwest Wisconsin couple is turning vintage campers into places you can rent on Airbnb. Kim Elliott has the story.
Oh, this is our first camper, the original.
Stepping inside this camper.
All right, let's go in. Come on into my camper.
Is like stepping back in time.
Just makes you feel like you're living the good life way back in the 60s. This camper was made in Wisconsin. To me, it's just very evocative of the 50s. I feel like I should be at the Grand Canyon.
Chris Marion has 3 vintage campers on her 20-acre farm in Blanchardville.
This is awesome. I think this might be my favorite. I don't know. They're all my favorite at different times, but this is, we think, from '62. We don't know the brand. It's a very classic canned ham shape. This is our oldest one. We feel really lucky that it's so intact.
A few years ago, she and her husband Shannon started buying these old campers.
They're pretty cool. This one's from the 50s. We have one from the 60s and one from the 70s.
Shannon would fix them up.
We picked up a camper cheap before they got so hip and cool. Kind of stumbled onto it.
And now people pay to stay inside one of these.
It's just very pared down.
For a weekend of rest and relaxation.
But we were lucky enough to find these that were pretty good. So they're gently restored, not gutted.
One thing that the Marions want you to know if you decide to come stay with them is that this is a real life farm. They have sheep, they have hogs, and they have chickens all on this property.
Oh, these are our steers. They're wonderful. We get them from a local dairy farm.
Many people who stay here come to recharge their batteries.
There's something restorative and healing and just getting away. I mean, people talk about their kids not wanting to be on their phones.
That's why the Marions have made this place their home for the past 18 years.
This place feeds my soul in a way that it's hard to describe.
Circle M Farms, a cozy getaway for travelers looking to escape to a simpler life.
And on the inside, it's all original wood.
And a simpler time.
Simple and cozy.
And we leave you with this. A California man has completed a surprising journey. It spans nearly 200 years and involves skull fragments, a mystery box, and Beethoven. Paul Kaufman has completed a strange decades-long journey involving what's believed to be the remains of the world's most famous composers, one of them. It started in 1999 when the California man found a mysterious box among his late mother's belongings in France. On the surface was the name Beethoven. Inside, wrapped fragments of a skull believed to be Beethoven. Well, for more than 20 years, he's worked with scholars around the world tracking the fragments to his great-great-uncle, an Austrian physician involved in researching the composer's body, exhumed in 1863, handed down, and now handed over to the Medical University of Vienna, where they're now on display for the world to see. That's crazy, Ted.
That's really interesting. I had not heard of anything like this before. It's good to know, though.
Yeah. All right. Have a great weekend.